Welcome to Simplifying Rational Expressions Part 2. In this second video, we are going to focus on how to factor quadratics that are a little more difficult than what we handled in the first Simplifying Rational Expressions video. If you haven't watched that video yet, I recommend looking at it first because many of the techniques and the whole premise is basically the same with the exception of a couple of these different types of quadratics that we have to factor and solve. So, with that said, let's get right to it. Here we have the rational expression 12x squared minus 4x minus 5 over the rational expression 8x squared minus 6x minus 5. Looking at it as it is, it looks similar to what we saw in part 1, except we have a value in the front for a this time. And because of that, it's going to become a little more difficult. We are going to have to use our diamond method like we did before, but it's not going to give us the factored form right away. And we're going to have to do it twice, once for the numerator and once for the denominator. So let's jump right in with the numerator. We're going to use our diamond method just like before. The top piece is for a times c, which is going to give us negative 60. The bottom piece is for b alone, which is negative 4. And we're trying to find two numbers, just like before, that multiply to negative 60, but add to negative 4. And that is going to end up being positive 6 and negative 10. Now, in the first video, we basically had our answers here. But now that we have this 12 here, we have a little more work to do. We're going to rewrite the numerator, but with these two terms. So, we're going to have our 12x squared at the beginning, but then we're going to have a plus 6x. We got the 6 from here, and we added an x term onto it. Then we're going to have a minus 10x. We got the minus 10 from here and put a x term on it as well, because 6x and negative 10x, if we were to combine them, gave us that negative 4. And then we have our minus 5 for the end. Now, this may look like we've made it more complicated, but what's going to happen here is we're going to split this into two pieces. And we need to factor out what we can from both of them. So, if I'm here, what can I factor out of this? They both have an x term, and 12 and 6 can both be divided by 6. So I'm going to factor out a 6x, and on the inside I'm going to be left with 2x plus 1. Now I'm going to look at the next one. They both don't have an x, but I can take out of both of them a negative 5. And if I factor out a negative 5, on the inside I'm left with 2x plus 1. And hopefully now you see where we're going with this. I factored it so that this and that are the same. And I can do one more factoring. I'll combine my like colors. So I have 6x minus 5 times 2x plus 1. And that is the full factored form of this right here. So I can take this and move it up, and our first part is now complete. But I also have to do the exact same idea to the denominator. So this method is a little lengthy compared to what we had to do in part 1, but we should assume that as we become more familiar with it, our examples are going to get a little bit tougher, and we need to rise to the challenge. So, let's get started with the denominator now. Same idea. we're going to use the diamond method. The top becomes negative 40, the bottom is negative 6, and I want two numbers that multiply to negative 40 but add to negative 6. And this time we're going to have positive 4 and negative 10. So I will rewrite the denominator as 8x squared plus 4x, remember we take the 4 from over here and put an x on it, minus 10x, we took this negative 10 and put an x on it, so that both of them combined make up this negative 6x, and then minus 5. Now, we split them into two groups, and we factor from there. So over here, I can pull out a 4x from both terms. So I'm going to have 4x times 2x plus 1. And over here, this looks exactly the same as before, so I can take out a negative 5 from both. And this also becomes 2x plus 1. Now we can do our last bit of factoring, take these away from both of our purple terms, and our factored form turns out to be 4x minus 5 times 2x plus 1. And then I'll move this up here. And now we have factored our equation. But we still have to do a little bit of simplifying, because I can't just leave it like this. And hopefully we notice that this and that are exactly the same. So since both the numerator and the denominator have the same factor, these are going to go away. Which means our final form of the answer is going to be, let me erase all of these. Our final form of the answer is going to be 6x minus 5 over 4x plus 5. And we can't cancel anything else out because we're not doing any other multiplication between terms. So I can't get rid of the x's because there isn't an x on both terms. And I can't get rid of the 5's because this is adding and subtracting, not multiplying by it. So our final answer looks like this, 6x minus 5 over 4x plus 5. But if you're on your A game, you notice I have a x in the denominator. So just like we did in part 1, I need to find the excluded value. So I'll take that denominator and set it equal to 0. When I solve for x, we are going to end up with x equaling negative 5 over 4. So our final answer is 6x minus 5 over 4x plus 5. X cannot equal negative 5 over 4. And there we have it. This was a very long example. We had to do a whole lot of stuff, but there was a lot of good things happening. So if you need to, rewatch the example, but this is the last bit for simplifying rational expressions. Hope this helps, and good luck.